first thing that we're going to go over is, you know, where are most of these buttons found? And so you're going to log into Court Reserve, you're going to go to Settings, and you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. So the first one I want to go over is really online payments. Online payments in Court Reserve, we have 3 different payment providers. You can see them here. We have Card Connect, SafeSave, and Stripe. Now, they are very different, very unique. If you need e-check or ACH, then SafeSave is going to be the one for you. If you don't currently use payments with us, we can email introduce you to our rep for SafeSave. And it's not that we don't like Card Connect or Stripe, we do, but Stripe, we don't have a personal representative to call if we have any questions, and so that can become difficult. And we like having a person, a human being that we can introduce you to for your questions. And then Card Connect's great too, but Card Connect has to go based on your organization and your application and actually get rates for you. And the SafeSave rates we already know for sure. So after you go to one of these providers and you decide to go through their application process and use them, they will give you something called keys. And here's just an example of a key. It's just a series of random letters and numbers. You put the key in here. What this tells Court Reserve is that this API key is your, for instance, SafeSave key. So this hooks you up with SafeSave. So when you're running payments in Court Reserve, it sends those that information to your SafeSave account, and then SafeSave pays you. A couple of buttons here, 2 buttons that you need to be made aware of. Allow members to pay transactions by the mobile portal or the member portal. I would probably say you will want to do that. That's why you're taking payments. And then if you're using SafeSave, you do have the option of whether you even take ACH or e-check payments. And so if you do, you want to make sure and check that box as well. So that's really online payments. It's super easy to get that set up in Court Reserve. And if you, of course, have any questions or want to get payments associated with Court Reserve, email us or chat support team, and we'll help you get that information as well. The next thing we're going to talk about is revenue categories. Revenue categories button is down here again under billing settings. Revenue categories in Court Reserve are a way for you to assess revenue to a specific category that you would set up. So for instance, we have several examples set up here. You can attach those to a reservation type and even give additional details here. We'll just take a look at the one called membership dues. We'll just go in here quickly. And so here's the membership dues, you've got your GO code, and then you can actually assess that to, like I said, certain reservation types, events types, and etc. here. Tim, do you have anything to add on membership dues?
Yeah, so revenue categories in general, this is really the reason that we did this is for reporting purposes. So this is to keep the accountants and financial people at your facility or organization happy, and then have the revenue reported the way they like it and rolled up. So you can see here, before we had revenue categories, all your revenue lines were at each individual membership type. So now what Ashley's done here, and then what you can do is you can specify a category of revenue called membership dues and map the individual categories in Court Reserve to roll up to that revenue category. So here I got like 7 or 8 different memberships. Now I can see that revenue number each month for all my dues under this membership dues category. So when I run a sales report or payment summary or any other type of financial report, I can now see all of that financial revenue at one level called membership dues. So really that's the whole basis behind it. Now, if you guys are not, if you're on the call and you're not, taking payments or doing anything like that, then I don't know how advantageous it is to set up the revenue categories. But if you're thinking about payments and then you're thinking about, well, I would love it to match my QuickBooks. We support the GL coding and everything. So this is sort of, that was sort of the method behind the madness in creating revenue categories. So I just wanted to share that thought, Ashley.
Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to go over is post fees. And Tim, don't leave because I know that we talked about this earlier, but that's really under your transaction button over here, where you would go in and you would assess a certain type of membership or all of your memberships. For instance, maybe an annual fee, maybe each January you go in and all of your memberships now pay an annual fee for being a part of your organization. You can easily come in here, put in the fee amount here. You can put that towards a revenue category here and then give it a description as well. And here, all of your members populate based on the membership types that you have put in here to this original category here. And of course, you can choose member status or choose all. Now, this will post at the family level or at the family membership level, unless you choose and check this box here to go to individual memberships, okay?
Let me add to that. It's still going to post to individual memberships. But if you don't check this box for those that have individuals in a family, it's only going to post the fee to the family unless that box is checked. So it's not this function doesn't just work for families. It does go individually as well if you pick up individual membership type up here at the top. But the reason this is, you may have multiple family members inside of a family membership that you want to assess individually. And that's why that box is important to check there that says charge each individual membership.
Awesome. Very good. And so, and another way that sometimes we've seen people post fees, and I know we have some teaching schools or some teaching academies that, Tim, isn't it correct? They'll go in and they'll actually charge student dues for a month at a time for lessons and things of that nature.
That's right. That's right. So as a future enhancement for those, you get I will speak to this. We are going to be enhancing this to put a schedule around it. So if you do want to say, hey, these are if you can be able to come in here to post fees and say, I say you're running an academy and you're charging, it's more of a tuition based pricing instead of an individual class base. So you'll be able to come in here and set up a schedule to say, hey, I want to charge this membership. And just like we do membership dues, you'll be able to post anything monthly or bi-monthly or bi-weekly based on memberships and put a schedule and be able to set up your schedule of when you want that to post. And it will automatically post to the account so you don't have to come back in and do it manually.
Nice. That's great. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about are invoices. Invoice settings. First, you have to set up your invoices, and that would be directly again down here under billing settings over to.
Let me interrupt you, Ashley. I don't want anybody to go and think that go on a mad goose chase to try to find these. You're only going to get to invoice settings if you have our add-on batch billing turned on.
Oh, I'll show them where to set that up at.
Okay.
So yeah, you have to turn it on first. Good interruption there, Tim. So we'll come up here to organization settings and go to general. And basically you scroll all the way to the bottom and you have to turn batch billing on. Now, if you turn batch billing on, then you'll be able to see that invoice settings and things of that in the system. And so now once we go back over, and we can now set up our invoice settings under billing settings because that's what allows that to show up. So remember, this is going to be the invoice. This is what your members are going to see on their invoice. So you want to make sure and put in all of this information, name, address, billing email. That's probably something that you want to make sure and put the, who to contact in case they have any issues with their invoice. You can write in a memo here. You can choose to start an invoice number here, and then invoice due date would be issued here. I would say probably most of the time we help people set up, it's usually 5 to 10 days after that invoice is emailed out to them. Now, 3 buttons that you want to be very careful about how you choose or not choose them. Probably the most important button is the last button, default invoices to show details. So what that means is when your member gets their email with their invoice, it's going to have the breakdown of each individual transaction that was charged to their account. So that's a great button. I think we're going to actually go in as a team and make that to where it's already defaulted. So we'll be doing that hopefully in the next couple weeks. The other two buttons are important as well. Prevent members from paying transactions if member has pending invoices. So basically that means on the member side, not on the admin side, if you have this box checked, will prevent them from paying transactions before they actually go in and pay an outstanding invoice that you have put on their account, okay? The second box here, allow members to pay invoices on member portal. I mean, I would assume most of you would want to do that because you're using payments and you want to make it easy on yourself so they can just log in and they can pay on their member portal. Now, what I want to do, of course, you want to upload your logo because that's what it, makes it look great. But let's go over to the member portal and take a look at where this lives or exists on the member side, okay? So if you haven't realized it, on the member side, we have a new button here that your members will see called billing, or you can still get to it from under my profile. So I would come under my profile, and then billing is here, okay? So once they click on billing, they can go in and they can see the invoices that you have sent to them. And we'll just open up this one right here. Let's just take a look. So this would be the invoice, your logo here, the information you have set up for invoice settings. Now, the invoice breakdown, or what we mentioned earlier by checking that box, is here. So they can go in and see each item listed, the date, the quantity if more than one, and then the total. Tim, anything about invoices on the member side?
No, I just I'd like to add, when you send out the emails, and you are going to go through a quick overview of batch billing in just a minute, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's also two things. One is that they will receive this invoice as a PDF attachment on the initial email when you generate a batch. So you don't have to just, you may be thinking, well, I don't want them to have to log in and be able to see their invoice here. No worries. We actually attach this. They can even download the same attachment by clicking the download button up in the top right where Ashley is now. If they click download, that's actually going to be the same PDF that they would have attached. The other thing is that this is available on the mobile app. So if they go under my profile on the mobile app, there's an invoices section there. They can see this invoice breakdown from a mobile perspective as well. A lot of our clients, we've gotten great feedback that they say it's just an easy way for them to see any charges, and makes it really quick and easy to do that. So yeah, that's all I had.
Okay, very good. So while we're over on the member side, I just want to mention, because this kind of falls under billing settings, your members have the option, if you allow them to come in here and create their own payment profiles. And it's pretty simple. They just come in here and they click the green button. And of course, it's that information. Now, it depends on what your payment provider is. If it is SafeSave, then, and you have chosen to allow them to do ACH or e-check, then they can set one or the other up. Just wanted to mention that and what that looks like, because I know sometimes some of you have said to us, wow, we'd really love to be able to, log in and help our members or see what they see. And so if you haven't been on your member portal on that side, that's where they would go in to create their payment profile as well. All right, so now we're going to jump back over and we are going to talk about batch billing. There's a great video out on YouTube that talks about batch billing, and if you decide to do batch billing within Court Reserve, it may change your life. It may add hours back to your day. Most people who use it the first time, once they have everything set up and they go in and they create a batch and they collect their money for the month in about 10 minutes, they end up loving batch billing. So to run batch billing, you would click transactions, batch billing, and come up here and you're going to create a batch. Now, a couple different things to just be aware of. You can choose which memberships you are going to do your batch for. You may have one membership or lots. You can choose the payment profile status, whether they have a payment profile or whether they don't have a payment profile, or all. And then of course you can choose the payment profile priority here, ACH or credit card. Now fees on ACH are a lot less than on credit card, so that might influx or influence your decision. You can choose when to do transactions through. So if you're going to run your batch on the first day of the month, you may choose to run your transactions through the end of the previous month. Or you can choose to do registrations here. You can even choose to do.
I'm gonna stop you.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. These two that she just covered are the most important when you're setting up batch billing, because this is going to be how you can, go in on the first of the month and make sure you're just collecting all the transactions that were posted the previous month, and only transactions that were part of reservations or events that they actually attended that month. So most clubs or facilities are not wanting to or to collect payment unless it's a membership due before it happens, because then if something happens and you cancel, you're having to handle all of the refunding. So this is if you do set up batch billing, if you're on the webinar and you're looking to do this very soon or create your first batch, just make sure that best practice is to set both of these dates to be the same date. And that's usually, just like Ashley was stating, at the end of the month.
All right. A couple more boxes to be made aware of here. Exclude if amount to process is smaller than X. So if you want to go in and say, okay, if anybody has less than $5 or $10 on their account, you can put that here. And then again, a couple more settings, invoice due dates. That's what we were talking about earlier with choosing, when you would like those dates to be, or your payment to be due. Now, you do have to choose one of these buttons here. Generate invoice only will send an invoice to your members, but not process any payments. And then you have another option of generate invoices and collect payment at the same time. I know that we are getting ready to update the invoice email that goes out. And Tim, do you want to kind of explain that they can go in and talk about how they can send this and then they can go back in and collect payments later?
Right. Yeah. So generate invoices is actually our more popular choice. What this is going to do is most facilities like to generate, say, on the first of the month and then give 5 to 10 days for the people that don't have a card on file to log in and to pay. And then let's say on the 10th of the month, of the day that the invoice was due, they'll go in and collect payments. And that's easy to do in Court Reserve. What you're going to do is, if you just go back one to batch billing on the left side, Ashley, once you generate invoices only, you're going to be in this, it will say pending payment collection. So if I was to click that, let's say I've generated the invoices, and then on the 10th I come back. If I click, I can always see the invoices I generated. You see these tabs here. So if I click the invoices there, I'm going to see all of the invoices. I will be able to see those that had already been paid, any that were declined. But if then I'm ready to go ahead and collect my payments, all I have to do is click the green collect payments button. You don't have to do that now, but that would process the batch and actually go out and then collect payments for any and all accounts that had a card on file. So that's the two-step process. It's that easy. And then once that payment collection runs, you will then see it as processed. And then you can see all of the invoices and which ones that got paid, which ones got voided. The reason that invoices get voided is if you have that option set up where they can pay individual transactions, as soon as a member pays an individual transaction that's part of this invoice, obviously the invoice is going to be voided. So that's why we encourage you to not allow them to pay individual transactions. They need to pay the invoice as a whole. So,
and please note again, if you go in and an invoice is voided, it does not mean the fees are voided. It just means that the invoice is no longer a valid invoice, because if you go in and pay a fee off of an invoice, then it's not correct anymore. So we wanted to make sure and clear that up, because we've had some people that were confused thinking that if they went in and voided invoices, then they're voiding all the fees associated. That's not.
And two things that we got coming in the future. One is that we are going to eventually allow you to partially pay down invoices. It's a little bit of a complex feature that we got to think through. And so right now, you know, that if you do want to pay down an invoice, you basically have to just void the invoice and then pay using our regular payment method. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to add a feature called statement. So, you know, looking at, you know, for the financial people in the room, there is a difference between an invoice and a statement. A statement is really just a way that you can see a balance forward for a given month, all of the fees, all of the payments, and then the ending balance. And that way you guys can not worry about creating invoices. You could just print off or send out statements. And then when people came in to pay that statement or pay part of that statement, when the next statement was generated the next month, it would look and see that payment had been made and adjust accordingly. So we will have the concept of statements, you know, for your members, for your guests, and a release coming very shortly.
See, that is why you join us on our webinars, because you're the first people to hear about all the new cool features coming out for Reserve. Awesome. Okay. All right. So again, batch billing's easy. If you're interested, or if you're getting ready to run your first batch, actually Tim will volunteer to help be with you on the phone when you click go. And so again, we have the YouTube video out there on the Court Reserve YouTube channel that kind of takes you through what that looks like. And if you have any more questions, you know, we could talk about that too. So
we do have also for those that still do snail mail their invoices, we do have a feature too where you can download all of your invoices to a PDF file. It breaks up every invoice. If you're using the standard envelope, the windowed envelope, it'll put the address of the actual member right in line, so you can do a trifold and everything works great. So for those wondering if you can still send out invoices by mail, yes, you can. Okay.
So our last billing setting that we're going to go over today would be taxes. Thank you, government, for taxes. So we go under billing settings and over here to the right side. Now in Court Reserve, the only things or items that can be taxed are memberships, reservations, and then your point of sale items as well. So, and it's easy to come in and create your tax rate. You'll give it a name, you know, whether it's, we've already got memberships in here. Let me just go in here so that I'm not membership. You'll put the percentage, and then you decide whether you would like to add the tax to the item price or include that tax item in the price itself. Pretty self-explanatory. And then of course you could go back and report on that. And especially like if we go over and look at our memberships, you can see here the tax category shows up separately. And it's easy to set those up on memberships as well. So we told you it was going to be a pretty easy, pretty quick webinar today around billing settings, but we'd love to take your questions. If you
I do want to point out two more important settings that I just want to make sure. And that's where you go once you do have payment provider set up. You can go on your sign up form. There's a setting here I want to show you. You actually can now require a card on file. So this is a really good one for your public facilities, or for those that want to make sure that you don't allow bookings at your facility unless there's a card present. You can always require that card on file. There's also a billing setting that you can turn on under, if you go to settings. We just released this week for those that are already have been asking for this. If you go all the way down under portal setup, and you scroll to the bottom, you're going to see the new tag probably. Yep. Do not allow members to delete their payment profiles. So we've had clubs that have had members that rack up bills that use batch billing, and then all of a sudden they go in and blow away their payment, and so that the club cannot charge them. Now they cannot if you go in and set this up and set this checking. So basically if they have a balance and they have a payment profile, they won't be able to delete that profile until after you've basically cleared off that balance. So nobody will be able to I guess, stiff you with that available balance and delete their payment profile. You also one last one under settings. You go under settings and go under the cost in the gold bar, fourth button over. This is where you're going to go and require a payment profile. If you're allowing customers to pay online, you basically can make them pay for court time up front. So this option is only available if you have a payment provider set up. If you do not, you do not see this option. So that's just another way for you to basically make sure and ensure that you get your money up front, even for your court reservations. That's it, Ashley.
All right. So let's see, James. Okay, James is going to check out some of our YouTube videos. If you missed it, we did do a financial reporting webinar. I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. It is already on our YouTube channel.
James was asking about prorating memberships, and I told him that I covered that in detail on the membership webinar.
Yes, yeah. Any of the webinars you've missed, you guys know that they're out there, so please check that out.